Good evening, everyone. Thanks, Neil, to bring me all the way from the Twin Cities. The weather is so beautiful. Feels like summer all over again. And the land around from the airport to here just really stunningly beautiful. I've never seen so much corn in my life. Now I understand what they mean, the cornfield. It's really amazing. I will read some poems from the 2 books poetry, and I read my new poems. I like reading new stuff. And this first one is called Syntax. She walks to a table. She walk to table. She is walking to a table. She walk to table now. What difference does it make? What difference it make? In nature, no completeness, no sentence really complete thought. Language, like woman, look best when free, undressed. Thank you. This is a prose poem, collage poem that I'm very fond of the form, and it's actually an assignment from a magazine talking. They want me to write about home, so I wrote this piece. It's called Mixed Blood. At 15, my father ran away from his widowed mother to fight the Japanese. I will come back with a PhD and serve my country with better English and knowledge, I pledged at a farewell party in Beijing. Home, 家, a roof under which animals live. When asked where I'm from, I say Weihai, even though nobody knows where it is, even though I've never been to that place. He lost his left ear in a bayonet fight with Japanese soldiers. 2 years later, American cannons split his eardrums. The night I arrived at JFK, the Mets won the World Series, and the noise on the street went on till 3. I got up at 6 and went to work in my sponsor's antique shop in Manhattan. The bag lady stopped her cart on the busy street and peed onto a subway grate. "Did you jump or fly?" asked my landlady from her mahjong table. Then she laughed and told me that her husband had jumped ship 10 years ago. When he opened his 5th Chinese takeout, he bought her a passport and flew her to Queens. The only thing he liked to talk about was his old home, Weihai, in its plump sea cucumbers and sweet apples, men with broad shoulders, stubborn thighs, and girls with long braids making steamed bread. "I don't know why," she said, shivering behind her fruit stand. "Back home, I could go for days without a penny in my pocket, and I didn't feel poor. Now if my money goes down below 4 figures, I panic." She scanned the snow-covered street of Chinatown. "I guess I really don't want to be homeless here." I hired a babysitter when she mentioned that her hometown was Weihai. The president visited the rice paddies in Vietnam, where a pilot had been downed 33 years ago. My father tried to return to Weihai after his discharge from the Navy. With his rank, he could find work only in a coal mining town nearby. My mother refused to go. He went alone and soon got TB. Mother ordered me to date the county administrator's son so my father could come home. "No, I'm not sad," the street kid shook her head. "How can I miss something I've never had?" On her 60th birthday, my grandma went home to die. She would take 2 ships, one from the island to Shanghai, then from Shanghai to Yantai. From there, she would take 2 buses to reach Weihai. I carried her onto the big ship at Shanghai port, down to the bottom, where she would spend 3 days on a mattress, with hundreds of fellow passengers. "How are you going to make it, Grandma?" I asked. She pulled out a pair of embroidered shoes from her parcel and placed them between my feet. "My sweetheart and liver, come to see your old home soon, before it's too late." House, Fang, a door over a square, a place, a direction. He never lost his accent, never learned Mandarin or the island dialect. Weihai, a small city in Shandong province, on the coast of North China Sea, a home where my grandfather and his father were born, where my grandmother married, raised her children, and now lies in the yam fields, nameless, next to her husband, an old frontier to fend off Japanese pirates, a place I come from, have never seen. Back from America, my mother furnished her home on the island, bought an apartment in the suburb of Shanghai, and is considering a 3rd one in Beijing. "A coming rabbit needs 3 holes," she wrote to her daughters, demanding their contributions. They swore before boarding the ship that they would send money home to bring more relatives over. In return, they were promised that if they died, their bodies would be sent back home for burial. I drink American milk, a few drops in tea. I eat American rice, Japanese bread. Chinese comes to me only in dreams, in black and white pictures. My mother buried her husband on the island where he lived for 40 years. Room, Wu, a body unnamed and homeless until it finds a destination. We greet a stranger with, "Where are you from?" When we meet a friend on the street, we say, "Where have you been? Where are you going?" Jia, a roof under which animals live. Fang, a door over a square, a place, a direction. Wu, a body unnamed and homeless until it finds a destination. My tangled roots for home. This one called Winter Garden. I bought a house on the bank of Mississippi River, and people say Minnesota. I lived in New York for 13 years, and I went to Minnesota to live and teach, and people always say, "What are you doing in Minnesota?" And when I started living on the Mississippi, I realized why I moved to Minnesota. The river is just really beautiful, and I really love the winter because I like to ski along the bank and on the river, and also love to skate. And here's a poem for the Mississippi. I also live on the confluence of Minnesota River and the Mississippi. At a window, I open my face to the midwinter sun. The screen pulses a white, starving wave. My fingers type the words that fill the air with some weight. My thoughts dance up to the cold pellets of rain. Across the river, my beloved cuts open a bleeding orange. On the Mississippi, dogs and skiers move with a heart-wrenching grace. The river is half frozen, half open. Under the ice, the fish roam with the spirits of raven. Ariel cries his heart out for his lost iPhone. I'm ordered to take vitamin D to heal a 12-year-old keloid. All the good things can tip over to toxin and venom, the necessary evils to fight our hidden demon. You call from the frozen ground of zero. Across the band, I watch the rivers meet and curve, our paths criss and cross. Which spark has ignited the fire of the universe? But who would know the currents under the icy mirror follow their own course of blessing and curse? Who said memory has no soul? See how it extends its roots, bone to bone, flesh to flesh, even when the tree is sunken into the snow. In the teepee of white pines, we unleash our wings. A silent vow flies to the call of a woodpecker. No more wandering, a lotus under the ice, in the bed of the great northern river. This is, I guess I'm reading a lot. I don't know, unconscious I put it together a lot. This reading was quite a few poems about the river. I also row in the summer, and I love to row with 8 people, with double, with quads, and single. And I fell into the river a few times, but it's great. And the last Saturday and the Saturday before, I took my creative writing classes to row on the Mississippi. And the last Saturday we rowed about 20 river miles from Minneapolis all the way to downtown St. Paul. And it's really, really magnificent. And my students in the write-up, they say they want to run away from McAllister and just go roaming along the river. You know? I said, uh-oh, what am I doing? But they just, they enjoyed this so much, you know. This is called Morning Lessons. At sunrise, I row. This morning, the river is choppy. Behind me in the bow seat, Master K is silent. I feel his patience, my own frustrations. My body is slow, slowing down to the change of the season, a dam of dampness and heat building to shore against the oncoming of a cold front. I will give myself needles tonight, I tell myself, to dredge the damp and elevate the stagnation along the liver and gallbladder meridians. Master K has a grand piano in his grand living room that makes its own music when a key is played. He bought it after his wife left with their 2 children. When snow falls on the Mississippi, he goes to Thailand, meeting the local woman, fighting with the local man. When the river thaws, he comes home to row and carves. Master K is also a master carpenter. He eats vegetables only and raw for 30 years. The river heaves. Our boat cuts the waves. Along the riverbank, jeweled weeds grow next to stinging nettles and poison ivy, an antidote for the burned skin. Their translucent stems look like human bones and joints. Plants resembling human organs will heal those organs, I learned from my herb master, like strawberries for the heart inflammations, pears for cooling the lungs, and avocados to warm and moist the uterus. Will the jeweled weeds ease the pain in joints and connect a torn tendon or ligament? Master K sprinkles a seed into my palm. It's tiny, a period at the end of a sentence. Touch it gently with your finger's tip, he says. It explodes in the center of my palm and flies off. The seed contains so much energy that it waits for just the right touch for its flight. Later in my herb class, I will learn that the seed is called Touch Me Not, good for inflamed and scattered heart spirits. I will also learn from my friend that in the Philippines, it's called Makahio, the shy one, the reticent one, their nerve endings open to the slightest suggestion. We come out of the water drenched in sweat. How did I do this morning? I ask. You didn't do worse, says Master K, smiling. This one's called What is Magic? What is magic? Raoul asked. That's the title, actually. The bird sings because it has a song in its throat. We move because we have a dance in our spirits. The wind blows to play with the rivers and valleys. The raindrops fall as messengers upon the earth. The fish swim because it has an ocean in its belly. The children run because they have the world under their feet. This is the secret of magic, hidden in our minds. The people and their small things, if all taken, what would we miss? The rustle of oak trees at dusk, the foaming river from the window, the smell of children running home, cheeks red from the snow. The little thing you say that's not funny, but I laugh anyway just because. The birds can't be imitated. The flowers cannot be colored. The sea can't be dammed. The mountains can't be spoken. This is the sound of magic running in our veins, moving the sky and earth, passing through us like rivers rushing to the sea. All the noise on earth will die, but not the silence of faith, this innocence persisting to believe, to see more than there is to see. And the birds guide us. A dewdrop hangs on the lip of an orchard. A volcano rumbles in another ether. Something has hit us, and we don't know why. It's April. The prairie is brewing a new blizzard. Cornfields adrift in the white-out wind. One-legged cranes darken the braided river. Rings of ice like shackles, and the sky in a folded dream. At the fork of the road I stand. Lines of hexagrams form of the formless. How can I walk them all at once and reach my destiny in blindfold? This is the truth to those who still trust, a thread so thin, unbreakable. This light and shadow, this right and wrong, it's all energy, same difference in the field of perception. Every tomorrow has two handles. Every seed contains its own fortune. Fire from the sea and into the sea, the big island, mountain of ash from the womb of earth. Children of the rivers and mountains, we carry a dream as ancient as the cranes. Sailing across the sky, ocean, and desert, uttering a cry that's almost too human. The birds have moved on, and the fields still aquiver with their spirits. They do not think, they live simply, each day a small gift. This is for the cranes. And time do I have?
I can't read it.
What time is it now?
7:25.
You got a lot of time.
I drink some water. I will read a prose piece then about called Ways to Eye. Let me find it. Sorry, I'll find it soon. Oh, if you have the book, if you could help me find the Ways to Eye, that would be.
It's toward the beginning. So.
Is it 32? Okay, thank you. The words are pretty small. I need glasses, so excuse me. I'm getting old. I can't believe it. Ways to Eye. Love? Can love buy you a decent meal with rice and meat? Can it keep you warm in snow, safe in a storm? My grandma would answer whenever I asked about her arranged marriage, her long widowed life. Don't even think about talking love before you turn 25, before you join the Communist Party and have made something of your life, my father warned when I left home at 15. There's no such thing as love without a reason, just as there's no such thing as hate without a reason. We chanted Mao's words as we spat and kicked at the teachers we had once adored, broke windows, burned books, beat up red guards from a different faction who were once our best friends. My grandma's favorite dinner story is about a widow who cut chunks of flesh from her arms and thighs to make broth for her dying mother-in-law. Such a filial deed moved the gods so much that they let the old woman revive and live another 10 years. As the story went, my mother would bang her chopsticks and rice bowls louder on the table and finally stomp out. Have you heard a better love story than that? My grandma would ask, her cheeks sunk deep in a toothless mouth. This is for the burnt rice, my mother said as she whipped us with her bamboo stick. And this is for the bowl you broke, the corner you didn't sweep, the dirty words that slipped out of your mouth. She aimed at our thighs, where the meat was thickest, the pain unforgettable. A filial son comes from under a rod. I want you to remember this with your flesh. You will be grateful when you grow up, and you will pass it on to your children, and next. And next. And this is the best love a mother can give, kiddos. I've never written a love poem, nor said the word love, I, in Chinese. When pressed by my Chinese boyfriend, I would say it in English and French only. He found it cute in the beginning, but later used it as an excuse to dump me. The word sounds like bad luck, too much like a sigh, I. It makes me feel like an old man bent with heavy loads. We say 疼爱, pain love, to our children, 恩爱, gratitude love, or 爱情, love emotion, between husband and wife, 恋爱, pity love, to a mistress or child. Love is conditioned heavily. I trace the word on paper. First is the hand, then the roof of a house. This makes sense. You want to keep a firm hand on your shelter, your safety, before you can even start talking about love. Is that why my father warned me over and over not to talk love before I've established myself? Then comes the part friend. I opened my biggest dictionary, ocean of words, 17 years away from China, and I'm losing my mother tongue. It's a complicated system, each word made with 2, 3, even 6 different components. No, I'm not wrong. The word does end with a friend holding up the roof of a house with an assuring hand. So what does it have to do with love? I look back into the dictionary again. It says, love among brothers. Okay, brotherly love. Love of the same sex before it extends to the other. Then it says, love equals adultery. I squirm in my chair. That explains why I've been so reluctant to say I love you in my mother tongue. The third item, love equals penny pinch equals greed. My palms get clammy with cold sweat. The definition of love in my Chinese dictionary don't seem friendly, and I can't discard them as rubbish, for they are all backed up by Confucius writing, history, famous poets, and politicians. All of them seem to say, love is a wild animal, control it, or it will tear you apart, drag you into the abyss. Don't talk love before you turn 25. How my father knows. And the companion words, gratitude, respect, duty, pain, pity, addiction, treasure, and many, many others that go side by side with the taboo word, I. Are they meant to tame this beast deep in our hearts? Does it mean we Chinese can't love for the sake of love? And if we do, we must love with all the pain, all the duties, all the consequences? Is this how my grandmas, my ancestors, women of my race, found their happiness, though they never met their men before their wedding nights, though their husbands might beat them up, sell them to redeem a debt, taking as many concubines as they could afford whenever they wanted? Does it mean I'm hopeless? Love, puffed my mother. Love is a puffed rice. It satisfies you for 5 minutes, that's all. And man, you can't believe a word they say. They are like commercials. So when you choose a husband, no need to look at his face or crotch. Just look into his checking account. Love is a wild deer in the forest. It won't return no matter how you call it, my twice-divorced sister said on the phone. When pressed to remarry, she replied, men are like parking spots. All the good ones are taken, and the rest are handicapped. It's possible to bear fruit before blossom, my grandma insisted. Children first, then respect, then love. I suppose, I mutter to myself as my index fingers goes up and down the dictionary. Security, responsibility, control, all wise and sound. But something is missing. Suddenly my eyes pop wide. At the bottom is the traditional version of the character I, a hand, a roof, a friend, the usual stuff. Then in the middle, between the friend and the roof, stands a heart. It was taken out by the government in the 50s to make Chinese words easier to use. That's it, I shout out loud. That's what's been missing, the heart, xin. Dot by dot, I try out the newly found character, adding the heart. Memories rush to me from all sides. First crush, first fight, first betrayal, the whipping, the cursing, my mother and grandma's barking their stories on my ear, my ancestors, their ways of love, of hatred, cunning and twisted, with its own wisdom and truth. I thought I had buried them to make my life easier, more modern, more Western, but they have been living with me all these years, waiting to come out. The hand come first, then the roof, then the heart, xin. Its 3 dots spurt and drip like blood over a standing leg. For decades, the heart has been erased from books, papers, magazines, but its pulse has never stopped. It's been pulsing in my grandma's stories, my sister's waiting for the reunion with her long-lost daughter, in the shafts of sunlight, moonrise, fallen leaves, in the whip my mother carefully placed behind the bedroom door. I sigh as I complete the last stroke. The heart looks a bit squished between the house and people, a bit fragile under the weight of the roof. But it's there, beating with its own rhythm, its own rules of law. Someday, when the heart takes roots again, I will learn how to say the word in my native tongue, a sound that can also mean a sigh, an obstacle, a sound soaked with pain and joy. Thank you. I will read two more poems. This one is called On the Playground in Brooklyn. A retired neurologist from Beijing is cursing a Henan girl. Sit still, you little pumpkin shit face. Stop fidgeting and stop whining about your sore feet. If your mother hadn't left you outside a shoe factory, dumping you like bad luck, you'll be digging mud and collecting cow dung in some god-forsaken place. You'll be lucky to have some corn grow to fill your stomach, some rags to cover your ass. And God bless if your father agreed to send you to school for 2 years, just enough to get a job sewing buttons, embroidering napkins and tablecloths at some Chinese-American joint. You'll be lucky to marry a peasant from another village, to have a kid within the quota. If a boy, you'll be pampered. If a girl, you'll be cursed and beaten. Or if you were pretty, which you are not, you would sell your flesh at hotels, bus stations, become some rich man's mistress. If you were intelligent, which I doubt, you might get into college, suck up to your professors for a better grade. But this is how fate laughs in our faces. You, a little nothingness, live in a brownstone in this filthy, rich neighborhood. And I, a venerable doctor and a professor, wait on you 14 hours a day, 6 days a week for minimum wage. You pick at your food like a spoiled princess. Your Gap outfit and elephantine shoes cost more than my daily salary, all because you call some white-skinned lawyers Papa and Mama, who hardly see you except on Sundays, who want you to speak English without accent, and hopefully pick up a few Chinese words from your nanny. No way. Listen carefully, you little hoof. A whore is always a whore, just as a dog will never grow ivory from its jaw. Born in a peasant sty, you will always smell of mud and straw fermented in piss. Your eyes the cutting wind from the yellow plateau. Your feet thick, thighs bulging with muscles, hips wide for labor, sex, birth. Even though at 3.5 you still look like a 2-year-old, still wobble when you stand or walk, the back of your head flat like the bottom of a pan from the orphanage crib. Believe me, I'm a doctor, I know. Once a peasant, forever a peasant, just as a Chinese remains a Chinese wherever she goes, even in her grave. Why are you crying, you little oily mouth? You're not supposed to understand a word. 2 years in America should have wiped out your past, erased memory. But who am I kidding? A night alone on the cement steps of a factory, a year spent in an orphanage. They say the trauma has stunted your growth hormones. But who hasn't gone through a few things in this life? I've survived 2 prisons, 3 labor camps, the Cultural Revolution, and now this plight at age 60 to become a maid for an outcast, to support my good-for-nothing son and his family. And I'm still standing tall, defiant. So, Lily, my silly pumpkin face, wipe your nose and walk, time to practice again. You're stubborn and proud. Good. Don't ever let your parents' frown seal your lips. Don't let butter and steak mush your brain. You are Chinese, a Chinese peasant girl. Now take your steps. It's all right to stumble, to fall. Here's my hand. Take it. I'm your countrywoman. I'm your mother. I'll read the last one first in Chinese and then in English. It's a poem for the Chinese migrant workers who makes everything for this world, especially for the big boxes. And this particular group of people, they make jewelries and also religious figurines for American market. And they can only really work for a year or two before they get really sick with silicosis in their lungs. And since they have no insurance or no unions, they just have to get sick and die quickly. And so there are about 250 million people, migrant workers in China, and all of them actually are peasants drifting into the cities to seek a better life. 粉尘天使，水晶星，仿篆隶心泪石，磨磨切切，切切磨磨，粉尘弥漫里，粗糙的指头为他人穿织美丽。手镯、项链、戒指，夜夜皱皱，皱皱夜夜。尖削飞轮前，我们弓腰为美利坚打磨首饰。圣徒、上帝、菩萨，沿传送带飞滚而下，四溅一美风，穷人的双手，文明的标价。孔雀石、黄水晶、蛋白石，地壳深处的宝藏，在沃尔超市里廉价出售。枪客连连，气息难记。我们的肺腔充满金粉，我们的生命轻若浮尘。他们指控我们装病，与工厂没有任何关系。他们解除工会，雇律师将我们的姓名抹去。他们说毛泽东、马克思早已过时，只有自由经济的市场才是通向民主的大道。囊中空空，归家无路，无言再见父老妻小，徘徊在医院和法庭的走廊。苍天啊，别让我们的孤魂流落异乡。粉尘天使，粉尘天使，是谁从我们的喘息中谋取暴利？是谁带着铜弓泪珠串起的项链？谁会知道那成千上万的菩萨以我们的骨肉雕成，那圣母和耶稣的眼睛用我们的血汗描绘。Thank you, you're so polite. Dust angels. Stars, diamonds, tears of hearts, sand and cut and sand. Shrouded in silicon fog, we string beauty with corn-husking hands. Bracelets, necklace, rings, day and night, night and day. We bend over screeching wheels, making trinkets for USA. Saints, gods, Buddha rush down the belt at a dizzying speed. A quarter cent apiece, price of our hands, nation's pride. A civilization eating us alive. Opal, malachite, topaz, stones from deep, sold cheap at Walmart. Our lungs harden from quartz crystals. Our lives weigh less than dust. We cough and wheeze We grasp for air walking half a block. They say we fake sickness, have never worked in their factories. They hire lawyers to erase our names, ban our union. Marx and Mao are history, they claim. Only freedom of market economy, the golden path towards democracy. No money to go home, no face to see parents, wives, children. We loiter in hospitals, courts. We pray not to die in this strange land. Dust angels, who wear the stars and hearts strung with our tears, who made a fortune from our wretched breath, who will see us of all Buddha and saints carved out of our bodies, all the eyes of Mary and Jesus painted in our blood. Those workers, the assembling lines, everything goes really fast, and the only job that slows them down is when they hand paint the tears in Mary and Jesus' eyes, because American customers care a lot about the expression on those figurines. So that's why at the end of that line. Well, thank you very much. Well, if you have questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Do you mostly write in English?
Yes, yeah.
And so that one, did you write in English and then translate it?
Yeah, yeah. And I want to translate that one because this poem in English is actually kind of follow the rhythm and a little bit form of Asian Chinese poetry, which is about 5,000 years old. And in the first book of anthology, it's called Book of Songs. And a lot of those poems actually were songs sung by the workers at that time, the peasants, you know. And so I think it's kind of fun to translate it into Chinese.
When will your new poems be available? Are you working on a book for that one?
Yeah, actually, as I was reading, I said, oh, it's about the time to put together another. Actually, I have enough poems for two books. I'd like to do one is more personal, and the other is all poems about the migrant workers and also immigrants of Chinese all over the world. There are Chinese, I think, everywhere. If you look at the Chinese restaurants. Before I came here, Neil took me to a Chinese restaurant in Wang. It's pretty funny. And he asked me actually, like, do you want soup? I wanted some soup. He said, do you want from the Dairy Queen? Do you want soup from, what's the other place? Subway. And I said, there should be a Chinese restaurant around here, right? He said, oh yeah, that's one. So those are all like, and I talked to them after he said where they are from. They're from, sure enough, they're from Fujian province, that's on the east coast of China. And a lot of illegal, I shouldn't really say the word illegal, they pay, most of them actually, they pay like 30 to 50,000 US dollars to a snakehead and get themselves smuggled into Europe and America. Yeah. So, and the Name poem, you know, she's also probably one of those people. But I don't think she came to the United States illegally, since she, you know, was a doctor in China, so she probably came through relatives legally. Then she worked, you know, as a nanny. Don't get me stranded here.
Where the story comes from. Could you read that poem and then talk a little bit about where that poem came from?
Which one?
Where the story comes from? Or where the story goes.
Oh,
Where the story goes.
yeah. Do you want me to read that?
Yeah, and then tell us a little bit about it. We read it in class and we were kind of...
Oh, okay.
Or you could just talk about it if you'd rather.
Okay. Yeah, I can just talk about it. Well, I think the poem is pretty clear. Like, it's actually, I heard the story in my yoga class. And, this is like a writing process. When something bugs you, keep you awake, and if the story or something won't go away, won't leave you alone, then it's time to sit down and write it. And like nanny poem, right? I met this nanny in New York, Brooklyn, and then I moved here, to Minnesota, and after a year, and I still hear her words, and I said, "All right, damn it, I will sit down and write it." And she was very bitter, and the ending, like, "I'm your mother," and I just felt, if I just wrote down her words, there was like no redemption, and I couldn't just leave it on a bitter note. And so I gave her that tryst in the end. There's got to be some connection between them, So, and the Wang story is also the same thing. I try to interpret, with my own, with my own spirits, And why did you pick that piece to read in class?
It's a very strong poem. You want to read it? You want to read it for us?
Do you want me to read it for you?
Yes.
All right. What page, actually? I never really read this poem.
30?
Thank you. Where the story goes. Out of the blue, Claire, the midwife, starts telling a story passed from her Hmong patient during the last hours of an arduous labor. Her green eyes clouded by mist, her lips trembling as if possessed by the tale's ghost. When I was 5, a refugee in Thailand, I heard a noise, muffled, sticky, from a ditch 10 yards from my family tent. I tiptoed over. There was a little girl, naked, smaller than my 2-year-old sister, hair and buttocks caked with mud. She had been climbing. Her nails, having clawed the wall all night, had peeled, purple beads of blood on her swollen steps. We reached for each other, but the ditch was bottomless. I ran back home screaming. Father and mother grabbed my arms. Let her be, girl, let her be. She must have done something bad in her previous life. Perhaps her family is hungry like us. If it's her fate to be there, we must not disturb, must not. Go help your sister get breakfast now. I walk away, the voice trailing like a stubborn race. Say something, I tell myself. Let's sprout 1,000 hands, open 1,000 eyes, to save all the girls and boys abandoned, hurt. But I walk away, wordless. I'm not a Buddha, just a mortal being, struggling to live, feel sane. She follows me, the little girl, her body the color of earth, past the bus stop where teenagers huddle smoking. Over their heads, plastic bags with bullseyes hang on bare trees. Her voice cutting through the ditch, through the mouth of the Hmong witness, the midwife, splitting my tongue into 1,000 torches to pass on her story, which is now mine. Thank you. Well, the story now is yours, and so write poems of yours. I'm sure you each have a lot of stories to tell. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you all for coming, and thanks to Wang for sharing those things with us. This is where the story goes. It goes to people who hear it, and then you carry it on and tell it again. I don't think, but there are probably still some in the bookstore. Right?
My website is wangping.com. Just Google Wang Ping, you will find everything.
And they're all in coffee house press, right? Most so far.